Welcome to the foggy, gaslit streets of Victorian Britain, a place where the air was thick with coal dust, morals were thin, and just about everyone was on something. Tonight, we're not just talking about drugs. We're wandering into the real weird, mind-bending, sometimes accidentally exploding pharmaceutical buffet that kept Victorian society spinning. Before you drift off, do me a small favor and tap the like button and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment telling me where you are listening from and what time it is for you. Now dim those lights, flip on a fan for that gentle background hum, and tuck yourself under the sheets. Let's pause for a second. Have you ever wondered how Victorians coped with stress before self-care meant 10 streaming services and a $45 scented candle? What did people do when their teeth hurt, their nerves were frayed, or they just wanted to escape the horror of another family dinner? Was everyone really sipping morphine and calling it a tonic? Could you walk into a pharmacy and walk out with a bottle of cocaine, toothache drops, no questions asked? Was grandma high or just pretending to enjoy her boiled cabbage again? And most importantly, would you survive a day in Victorian Britain without accidentally dosing yourself with something that would today get you a lengthy prison sentence and a very confused look from a pharmacist? So, come with me now. Find that cozy spot, take a nice slow breath, and just let your body sink into whatever you're lying on. We're heading back to a world of questionable remedies, where every illness was a new opportunity for a dangerous experiment. Part 1, A World in Pain and a Cure in a Bottle. You've just survived another day in Victorian London. The air is heavy with the smell of horse manure, coal smoke, and the faint, sickly sweet scent of the Thames River. Your head aches with a persistent low-grade throb that has been your companion for weeks. You've been to the doctor, a plump, self-important man who poked at your stomach, listened to your chest with a long, cold metal tube, and declared you to be suffering from nerves. He told you that your delicate constitution was simply not suited to the rigors of modern life. He wrote you a prescription, a scribble on a small piece of paper that promised a cure. You hold the prescription in your hand, a small, hopeful piece of parchment. It is for a new kind of medicine, a tonic that promises to soothe your aches and quiet the incessant buzzing in your mind. The advertisement in the newspaper promised a life of peace and tranquility, a way to float above the noise and grime of the city. You walk into the chemist's shop, a place filled with the strange, sweet smell of chemicals and dried herbs. The shelves are lined with bottles of all shapes and sizes, each one promising a different kind of miracle. There are elixirs of life, blood purifiers, and soothing syrups. You hand your prescription to the chemist, a man in a white apron with a face as impassive as stone. He nods, takes the paper, and disappears into the back of the shop, returning a moment later with a small, elegant bottle of a dark, viscous liquid. He wraps it in brown paper, ties it with a piece of string, and hands it to you. The cost is a week's wages, a staggering sum, but you are desperate for relief. You walk out of the shop, the bottle a small, precious weight in your hand. You rush home, the bottle a beacon of hope in your mind. You find yourself in the privacy of your bedroom, away from the prying eyes of your family and the oppressive atmosphere of the drawing room. You unwrap the bottle, the brown paper crackling in the quiet of the room. The label is a work of art, with a delicate script and a beautiful etching of a serene-looking woman. It is called Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup. You unscrew the top, and the scent that wafts out is a sweet, almost sickeningly sweet smell, like a mixture of honey and dark herbs. You pour a small spoonful into a glass of water and drink it down. The taste is bitter at first, a metallic tang on your tongue, but it is quickly replaced by a profound, all-encompassing sweetness. And then, a moment later, nothing. You wait. But a moment later, the world begins to slow down. The pounding in your head recedes to a gentle hum. The anxious, racing thoughts that have been your constant companions begin to quiet. The world feels soft around the edges, as if you are wrapped in a warm cotton wool blanket. You feel a profound sense of peace, a quiet, unshakable calm that you haven't felt in months. You find yourself drifting, the world a hazy, pleasant dream. You are not alone in this feeling. Across the city, in grand drawing rooms and quiet, lonely bedrooms, men and women, rich and poor, were experiencing the same transformation. The tonic, the elixir, the soothing syrup was, of course, morphine. Morphine was the most powerful painkiller of the age. It was isolated from opium in 1804 and was being used to treat everything from headaches to chronic pain. The development of the hypodermic needle in 1853 made it even easier to administer, and it became a common treatment for a wide range of ailments. It was seen as a miracle cure, a simple solution to the complex problem of human suffering, and it was in everything. There were cough syrups with a healthy dose of it, teething powders for children, and remedies for insomnia that were little more than a strong shot of the drug. The Victorian age was a world of pain and discomfort, and morphine was the elegant, respectable way to escape it. Part 2. The Respectable Addict and the Lure of the Chemist's Shop. The first few weeks are a revelation. The world is a softer, gentler place. You wake up in the morning feeling refreshed and calm, and you find yourself more able to cope with the daily dramas of your life. The difficult piano lessons, the constant petty social calls, and your husband's theatrical sighing no longer seem to bother you. You have found a quiet, secret peace in the bottom of a bottle. You visit the chemist's shop again, and you buy another bottle of the syrup. The chemist nods at you, his face impassive. He sees hundreds of people like you every day, and he knows that you will be back again, and again, and again. As the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months, a subtle shift begins. The small dose of the syrup that once felt so miraculous now seems to do very little. The quiet hum of peace is replaced by a jittery, anxious feeling. You find yourself taking a second dose, and then a third, just to feel normal, just to get back to that feeling you had the first time. The world that was once so soft and gentle now seems harsh and abrasive without the help of the syrup. You find yourself consumed by a single, all-encompassing thought, the need for the drug. The elegant bottle on your nightstand, which was once a symbol of hope, is now an unyielding master. You are no longer taking the drug for pleasure. You are taking it to feel normal. The respectable facade you've so carefully constructed begins to crack. You notice the subtle signs in other people. The way your neighbor's hand trembles when she lifts her teacup. The way the woman across the street is always talking a bit too loudly, a bit too quickly. The way the perfectly manicured hands of a society lady are always shaking slightly when she tries to fasten her gloves. Everyone is living inside the same secret, polite delusion, pretending to be perfectly fine, while their minds are racing and their bodies are slowly, inexorably falling apart. The entire society is a beautifully dressed house of cards, built on a foundation of a bitter white powder, and this polite delusion extended beyond just the wealthy. Laudanum, a simple and inexpensive mixture of opium and alcohol, was the drug of the poor. It was sold in every corner shop and was the great equalizer of the Victorian era. A factory worker, a servant girl, a struggling artist, they all could afford a small bottle of laudanum to numb the physical and emotional pain of their lives. It was given to children to quiet them, to adults to soothe their nerves, and to the elderly to help them sleep. The streets of London were filled with the quiet, shuffling figures of people who were in a constant, low-grade state of narcotic bliss. It was a secret epidemic, a silent plague that swept through the country, leaving a trail of wasted bodies and ruined lives in its wake. Part 3. The Rise of the Accidental Addicts. The medical establishment, in its well-meaning ignorance, played a huge role in this. Doctors were not trained in the dangers of addiction. They saw morphine and cocaine as miracle cures, and they prescribed them with a reckless abandon that would be unthinkable today. The most famous example is Queen Victoria herself, who was prescribed a concoction of cannabis and wine to ease her menstrual cramps. She was not a recreational drug user, of course, but her doctor saw no harm in a drug that was seen as a simple herbal remedy. The most insidious of these drugs was chloral hydrate, a powerful sedative that was given to people suffering from insomnia. It was seen as a safe, effective cure for sleeplessness. It was often mixed with alcohol and was sold in 1,000 different forms. The famous Victorian writer, Wilkie Collins, was a lifelong user and addict. He called his concoction his soothing syrup, and he would often take it at night to help him sleep. He became a high-functioning addict, a man who could still write brilliant novels, but who was a prisoner of a small glass bottle. The most bizarre of the so-called remedies were the patent medicines. These were unregulated, mass-produced elixirs that promised a cure for everything from baldness to female complaints. The labels were filled with extravagant claims, and the bottles were often filled with nothing more than water, alcohol, and a healthy dose of an addictive substance. One popular remedy, Hadaway's tonic, promised to cure consumption, tuberculosis. It was widely known in the medical community that it was little more than a high-dose solution of heroin and a flavoring agent. The medicine was sold in every chemist shop, and it was the drug of choice for the countless people who were suffering from the devastating illness. They were not seeking to get high. They were seeking a cure, a moment of peace, a brief respite from the pain that was slowly, inexorably killing them. The most heartbreaking of these stories were the child remedies. There were teething powders that were little more than opium and sugar, cough syrups that were laced with morphine, and soothing elixirs that were filled with powerful sedatives. Mothers, desperate to quiet a crying child or soothe a persistent cough, would give their children these remedies, believing that they were doing the right thing. They were not trying to get their children high. They were trying to be good mothers, trying to give their children a moment of peace in a world that was filled with pain and discomfort. And in the process, they were creating a generation of quiet, shuffling, and addicted children. Part 4. The Society of Shadows. The downward spiral is slow and insidious, a quiet descent into madness that is so gradual you barely notice it. The quiet hum of peace is replaced by a frantic, anxious jitteriness. The world becomes a source of dread. You spend your days locked in a vicious cycle of craving and relief, a cycle that is slowly, inexorably tearing your life apart. The elegant facade you've so carefully constructed begins to crumble. You begin to neglect your duties. The household is no longer running with the quiet, unyielding precision it once did. The embroidery lies in a heap on your chair, and your husband's dramatic coughs are met with a vacant stare. You no longer attend dinner parties, and when you do, your behavior is erratic and strange. You speak too quickly, you laugh at inappropriate times, and you make wild, sweeping statements that would have been unthinkable a few months ago. Your friends, the ones who once praised your newfound energy and radiance, now whisper behind your back. They say you are unwell. They say you have finally succumbed to your nerves. The physical toll is just as great as the mental one. The elegant, well-dressed woman you once were is gone. You are thin and gaunt, your eyes are hollow, and your face is pale and sallow. The small, delicate bottle that was once a symbol of your recovery has now become a source of shame. You hide it from your husband, you lie to your servants, and you spend your days in a constant state of anxiety, afraid that someone will discover your secret. You are a prisoner in your own home, a slave to the very drug that was supposed to set you free. The whispers from the outside world, from the people who were once your peers, now feel like the rustling of leaves on a dry, windy day. They are everywhere, and they are always talking about you. The doctors, who once so readily prescribed the drug, now offer no answers. They are baffled by your decline, and they have no solution for your new, strange illness. They do not understand that the drug they prescribed as a cure is the very source of your suffering. The polite delusion that once covered the entire nation is now slowly, painfully coming apart. You are not alone in this. The man in the corner pub, a glass of laudanum in his hand, his eyes glazed over, and his body a shuffling, quiet ghost. The child in the back alley, his cough soothed by a spoonful of morphine-laced syrup, his small body a picture of quiet, listless contentment. The society of shadows is all around you, a silent, unspoken reality that everyone pretends not to see. The newspapers run sensational stories about the cocaine menace and the opium dens, but they fail to mention that the most powerful drugs are found in the chemist's shop, sold in elegant bottles and given to children. Part 5. The Fading of the Gaslight. Eventually, the age of polite powdered wellness came to an end. The medical community began to realize that the miracle cure they had so enthusiastically promoted was in fact a terrible and destructive poison. The first laws restricting its sale were passed in the early 20th century, a slow, grudging acknowledgement of the truth. The elegant, unassuming bottles of tonic are taken off the shelves of the chemist shops, and the drug is reclassified from a health tonic to a dangerous, addictive substance. The advertisements for Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people are replaced with advertisements for a new, healthier kind of tonic, and the elegant, beautiful tin boxes are now a thing of the past. But the reclassification came too late for you. It came too late for the thousands of other men, women, and children who had been caught in its grip. The age of hysteria had ended, but a new age of addiction had begun. And you, a respectable Victorian lady, were one of its first victims. The house is quieter now. The piano sits unplayed. The embroidery lies in a heap on your chair. The world outside, the world of bright, modern inventions and new, dangerous ideas, moves on without you. You are a relic, a ghost of a time when a simple bottle of tonic could promise everything and give you nothing but an addiction. And so you fade, not in shame, but in rhythm. The drawing room grows quieter. The gas lamps burn lower. Your duties lessen. The land continues. The people work. And in the stillness between seasons, you feel something like peace. Let the bards sing of dragons and jewels. Let the painters render shining charges and golden spurs. You remember the cold mornings, the crooked smiles, the cracked ribs and cracked jokes, the smell of wet horse, and the taste of cheap ale. That too was knighthood, and it was enough. You don't know what the world will become, only that it will become. Castles will crumble, cannons will roar, the old ways will fade into memory. But for tonight, the bottle is empty, the eyebrows have relaxed, and for the first time in a very long time, you can truly rest. Part 6. The New Sensation and the Polite Delusion. As the years pass and the quiet shadow of morphine continues to lengthen, a new substance arrives on the scene, promising a different kind of relief. This is the era of the great medical breakthroughs, the time of discovery, of bold, fearless doctors and scientists pushing the boundaries of what is possible. It is in this atmosphere of grand ambition that cocaine is introduced to the West, a miracle cure isolated from the coca plant, brought back from the exotic lands of the New World. The marketing is brilliant. It is not a sedative, not a numbing agent, but a powerful stimulant, a tonic for the modern age, a solution for the stresses of a fast-paced world. The advertisements are bold and beautiful, showing a world of vibrant colors, of cheerful, energetic people, of men and women who are able to accomplish anything. It is sold in elegant bottles and beautiful tin boxes, given to the wealthy and the elite as a sign of their sophistication. There are cocaine bonbons for a little pick-me-up after a heavy meal, toothache drops for a screaming toothache, and nasal sprays for a cold. You can buy it at the local chemist's shop. No questions asked, no prescription needed. It is a sign of modernity, of progress, of a society that is no longer content to simply drift along in a cloud of narcotic bliss. And you, a woman of your station, are not immune to its charms. The quiet, shuffling peace of the morphine syrup has given way to a quiet, nervous anxiety, a constant state of low-grade withdrawal that leaves you exhausted and restless. Your old doctor, the plump, self-important man who prescribed your first bottle of morphine, now recommends a new kind of tonic, one that will give you energy, one that will reinvigorate your delicate constitution. You take a small sip of the new tonic, and for the first time in a very long time, you feel a jolt of pure, unadulterated energy. The world, which was once so dim and dusty, is now a place of brilliant possibilities. The colors are brighter, the sounds are sharper, and your mind is a whirlwind of thoughts and ideas. You feel an immense sense of confidence, a quiet, unshakable certainty. You could, if you wanted, sit down at the piano and play the entire sonata perfectly. You could write a letter to your sister and fill it with witty observations and sparkling humor, the words flowing from your pen with a speed and grace you've never known before. The endless, tedious conversations you dreaded at dinner parties no longer seemed daunting, but rather a stage upon which you could deliver a sparkling and engaging performance. This is more than a cure for a headache. This is a cure for your very life. Part 7. The slow decay of the polite facade. The first few weeks with the tonic are a revelation. You become a social star. Your conversation is sparkling, your wit is sharp, and your posture is impossibly straight. You find yourself at a dinner party, engaging in conversation with an old man who was previously a complete bore. You are not only listening, but you are hanging on his every word, finding new and fascinating angles in his long, rambling stories. Your husband, who previously found you to be a bit too quiet and melancholic, begins to praise you to your friends, talking about your newfound energy and your radiant good spirits. You, for the first time in your life, feel as if you are living up to the impossible expectations that have been placed on you since birth. But as the days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months, a subtle shift begins. The small dose of the tonic that once felt so miraculous now seems to do very little. The low-grade hum of energy is replaced by a jittery, restless feeling. Your hands, which were so steady at the piano, now tremble slightly. You find yourself taking a second dose and then a third, just to feel normal, just to get back to that feeling you had the first time. The world that was once so vibrant and full of possibility now seems muted without the help of the tonic. The colors are less bright, the sounds are less clear, and the people seem to be moving a little too slowly, a little too lazily. The feeling of euphoria you once felt is replaced by a quiet, gnawing paranoia. You begin to feel as if your servants are watching you, as if they know your secret. You start to see things out of the corner of your eye, a shadow moving in the hallway, a figure standing at the edge of your garden. You try to write a letter, but your thoughts race, and your pen trembles so badly you can barely form a coherent sentence. Your sleep, once peaceful and deep, is now a light, restless affair, full of strange and unsettling dreams. You wake up exhausted, and the first thought that enters your mind is the need for the tonic, the elegant bottle on your vanity, which was once a symbol of hope, is now an unyielding master. You are no longer taking the drug for pleasure, you are taking it to feel normal. The polite delusion you've been living inside begins to crack. You notice the subtle signs in other women, the way your neighbor's eye twitches uncontrollably when she thinks no one is looking, the way the woman across the street is always talking a bit too loudly, a bit too quickly, the way the perfectly manicured hands of a society lady are always trembling slightly when she lifts her teacup. Everyone is living inside the same secret, polite delusion, pretending to be perfectly fine, while their minds are racing and their bodies are slowly, inexorably falling apart. The entire society is a beautifully dressed house of cards, built on a foundation of a white bitter powder. Part 8. The Final Reckoning and the Fading Gaslight. The end of the era came not with a bang, but with a series of quiet whispers and the slow grinding machinery of bureaucracy. Doctors, who had for so long ignored the obvious, began to publish articles in medical journals with titles like The Cocaine Menace and The Horrors of the New Drug. The public, who had so eagerly consumed the miracle cures, began to whisper about the strange, erratic behavior of their neighbors, the hollowed-out eyes, the gaunt skeletal figures. The polite delusion was over. The first laws restricting its sale were passed in the early 20th century, a slow, grudging acknowledgement of the truth. The elegant, unassuming bottles of tonic are taken off the shelves of the chemist shops, and the drug is reclassified from a health tonic to a dangerous, addictive substance. The advertisements for Dr. Williams' pink pills for pale people are replaced with advertisements for a new, healthier kind of tonic, and the elegant, beautiful tin boxes are now a thing of the past. But the reclassification came too late for you. It came too late for the thousands of other men, women, and children who had been caught in its grip. The age of hysteria had ended, but a new age of addiction had begun, and you, a respectable Victorian lady, were one of its first victims. The house is quieter now. The piano sits unplayed. The embroidery lies in a heap on your chair. The world outside, the world of bright, modern inventions and new, dangerous ideas, moves on without you. You are a relic, a ghost of a time when a simple bottle of tonic could promise everything and give you nothing but an addiction. And so you fade, not in shame, but in rhythm. The drawing room grows quieter, the gas lamps burn lower, your duties lessen, the land continues, the people work, and in the stillness between seasons, you feel something like peace. Let the bards sing of dragons and jewels. Let the painters render shining charges and golden spurs. You remember the cold mornings, the crooked smiles, the cracked ribs and cracked jokes, the smell of wet horse, and the taste of cheap ale. That too was knighthood, and it was enough. You don't know what the world will become, only that it will become. Castles will crumble, cannons will roar, the old ways will fade into memory, but for tonight, the bottle is empty, the eyebrows have relaxed, and for the first time in a very long time, you can truly rest. Now, as the last gas lamp flickers and dies, and the house settles beneath a soft, quiet moon, I hope this strange walk through Victorian pharmaceuticals lingers. The world may still be confusing and a little bit bonkers, but at least your cough syrup won't get you addicted to heroin. So as you drift off to sleep in your clean, comfortable bed, maybe whisper a thank you to history's accidental pharmacists and the long line of people who survived so you could enjoy modern medicine. Sleep well, powdered pioneers. Rest easy, agents of change. Tomorrow brings new possibilities.